Ms. Vance, your husband tried to kill himself. When I came to, all I could see was a blinding white. Before I could even process it, a sharp, biting pain shot through my wrist. As I slowly regained my senses, I heard a woman's frantic voice. Then, I saw a woman with her back to me on the phone. Ms. Vance, Daniel is at the hospital. Are you going to come see him? A cold, merciless voice came from the other end of the line. Is he dead? If not, don't bother me. The call ended. The woman sighed in frustration, and when she turned around and saw me, she froze. A moment later, she walked over. You're awake. Who are you? I stared at her, completely lost. Were you talking to me? You don't recognize me? Her face changed. I'm Julia Moon, Ms. Vance's assistant. Who is Ms. Vance? Julia frowned, her expression hardening with impatience. Daniel, Ms. Vance is extremely busy. Throwing a tantrum by trying to kill yourself was pointless, and faking amnesia is even more so. Just give it up. She's not coming to see you. I was even more confused. I had no idea what she was talking about. Seeing my silence, Julia stepped closer, her tone a mixture of pity and lecture. Daniel, you've been married to Ms. Vance for 5 years, and you've been causing drama for 5 years. She has never managed to fall in love with you. Don't you think it's time for a little self-reflection? Stop making trouble for her. I still didn't know what was going on, but her attitude rubbed me the wrong way. Looking at her smug face, I felt a strange sense of disgust. Wait, did you say 5 years? I bolted into the room's private bathroom and stared at my reflection. It was my face, no doubt, but older, more mature, with a shadow of melancholy I couldn't shake. Could what that woman, Julia, said be true? Is it 5 years in the future? Am I actually married? It turned out to be true. I was married, and had been for 5 years. I hadn't time-traveled or been dreaming. I had amnesia. My memory stopped at 18, right when I started college. I had a crush on a girl in the year above me, Sarah Vance. She was the definition of an ice queen, flawless in looks, family background, and talent. She'd skipped so many grades that, even though she was ahead of me in school, she was actually a few years younger. And now, I was married to her. According to Julia, I married Sarah when I was 22. It was a whirlwind wedding, with no real emotional foundation. I hadn't even graduated from college yet. We just got a marriage license, no ceremony. After we got married, I discovered Sarah's heart wasn't with me. Instead, she was incredibly close with her best guy friend, Ethan Hayes. He was supposedly her first love, the one she could never have. And me, the unloved husband, started acting out. I tried every crazy stunt I could think of to get Sarah's attention, but all it earned me was her growing contempt. All of her friends treated me like a joke, placing bets on when we'd finally get divorced. Ethan Hayes never gave me the time of day. He was the golden boy of their social circle, and every one of my hysterical outbursts just made me look like a pathetic clown to them. Finally, I threatened to kill myself to make Sarah cut off all contact with Ethan. She refused. In fact, she told me to go ahead and die. So I did. That's what happened right before I woke up. It all feels completely surreal. Killing myself for love? That's not something I would ever do. I'm the kind of guy who despises simps. I would never be a doormat for any woman. By the time I pieced it all together, I was in the master bedroom of our house. The doctor said there was nothing seriously wrong with me, so Julia sent me straight home. Before she left, she gave me a look that was both a warning and a plea to stop making scenes. Staring at the enormous mansion, I lost any desire to cause a fuss. I was just floored by the sheer, overwhelming wealth. A single walk-in closet was bigger than my entire old apartment. As I was giddily taking in the bedroom I apparently shared with Sarah, a noise at the door made me turn. My gaze locked with Sarah's, her expression as cold and remote as ice. Even though I knew we'd been married for 5 years, for me, this was the first time I'd seen her face this close. I had to admit, there was a reason she was the girl I'd worshipped as a teenager. Just looking at her made me feel better. Even with that cold expression directed at me, I couldn't bring myself to hate it. I guess what Julia said had some truth to it. I really was just a sucker for a pretty face. Seeing my silence, she frowned slightly. Daniel, what kind of game are you playing now? As she spoke, she glided towards the walk-in closet, not breaking her stride as she passed me, and selected a silk robe. Ich glänzte her. Game? I haven't said a single word since you walked in, and you're accusing me of playing games? Sarah's dark eyes sized me up. You usually throw yourself at me the second I walk through the door. Is this some new tactic? I was a little taken aback. Was I really that desperate for her after we got married? I kept my expression neutral and said flatly, "Oh, that won't be happening anymore." I expected her to look relieved. Instead, her frown deepened, and she looked at me with growing annoyance. "I've been exhausted with work. I don't have the energy to deal with your theatrics." I said nothing. Her gaze turned sharp as ice. "Daniel, don't you dare try anything with Ethan again. He's done nothing wrong, and threatening to kill yourself won't change a thing." I froze, a mix of emotions swirling inside me. Julia had already given me the general rundown of my situation with Sarah. It was a simple, pathetic triangle. I loved Sarah, Sarah loved Ethan, and I was the clown who could do nothing but constantly harass Ethan, earning more and more of Sarah's hatred. This latest suicide attempt was because I was jealous of how Sarah doted on Ethan. I'd apparently been secretly attacking his company, smearing his clients, and Sarah had backed him up without a second thought. It was a public declaration to our entire social circle that I, Ms. Vance's husband, was a complete nobody to her, not worth a fraction of what Ethan was. So I lost it and tried to use suicide to win her back. The result was predictable. A woman who already despised me wasn't going to have a change of heart. She'd just see it as another burden. When I remained silent, Sarah lost her patience and went straight into the bathroom. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding and collapsed onto the massive bed, my mind a total mess. Having lost the last few years, I truly couldn't comprehend how I'd become this unhinged person. My 18-year-old self despised people who were slaves to their emotions, and now here I was literally dying for a woman. I never would have imagined I could end up like this. My thoughts were racing, and before I could figure out my next move, the covers beside me were pulled back, and a soft, warm body slid into bed next to me. A wave of her perfume sent a jolt through me. I turned my head and saw Sarah watching me, her dark eyes holding their usual cold indifference, but now tinged with something deeper, something suppressed. I stammered, "What are you doing?" Even with my memory gone, based on everything I'd been told, our relationship was supposed to be terrible. I would have guessed we slept in separate rooms. So why was she getting into bed with me, so casually? Sarah seemed oblivious to my discomfort as she wrapped a slender arm around my waist. Without a word, she moved on top of me, her delicate fingers expertly tracing lines on my skin, igniting a feeling I'd never known. "Sarah!" I couldn't stop myself from shouting her name. "Get off me!" The genuine resistance in my eyes must have surprised her, because for a second, she looked stunned. But it was quickly replaced by annoyance. "Daniel, don't start with this." I hated the way she always spoke to me in that tone. It was starting to make even that face I'd adored for years seem less attractive. "I'm your husband, right? I was in the hospital after trying to kill myself, and you come home without a single word of concern, only to attack me. Sarah, what gives you the right to treat me like this?" My anger seemed to light her fuse. She gripped my wrist, her voice turning to ice. "Because you brought all of this on yourself." She wasn't strong, but her grip landed directly on the cut on my wrist. Pain flared, but I bit my tongue and stayed silent. Sarah suddenly pulled her hand back as if she'd lost interest. She rolled over, turning her back to me. "I'll let it go this time," she said, her voice frigid. "But don't ever pretend to kill yourself to threaten me again." Lying there beside her, I was a mess of conflicting emotions. When I woke up the next morning, Sarah was gone. I threw on some clothes and went downstairs to find her already at the dining table, eating breakfast. The butler, standing beside her, greeted me. "Good morning, Mr. Miller." I stood there, hesitating. Without looking up, Sarah said, "Come eat." Even though it was just breakfast, the spread was staggering. I couldn't help but think, this is what it's like to be rich. Even breakfast is a major production. I sat down across from Sarah, and the butler placed a bowl of mango tapioca pudding in front of me. I was speechless. What guy eats this for breakfast? The smell of mango hit me, and I wrinkled my nose. "Why is there mango in this?" The butler explained, "Mr. Hayes had it sent over specially. It's his favorite, flown in from Europe." My appetite vanished instantly. "I'm not eating it." The clink of a silver fork against a porcelain plate cut through the silence. Sarah looked up at me, her voice cool. "Daniel, that's enough." I was fuming. "Is me not eating mango a problem for you? You're only refusing to eat it because Ethan sent it, aren't you?" Sarah's face was like stone. "Daniel, when are you going to get your jealousy under control?" "Me? Jealous of Ethan?" I had no idea what the 27-year-old version of me was like around Sarah, but I was guessing he was a pathetic, petty man. But we're husband and wife. How could she not even know I'm allergic to mangoes? Just as I was about to say something, The butler announced, "Sir, Mr. Hayes is here." A smooth voice followed. "Sarah, am I interrupting?" A tall figure appeared in the doorway. The way the butler and the house staff greeted him, so familiarly, made it obvious he was a frequent visitor. One glance, and I knew it was Ethan Hayes. I noticed the butler's choice of words. I was Sarah's husband, yet he called me Mr. Miller, while Ethan was Mr. Hayes, spoken with a different kind of deference. The difference in intimacy was obvious. No wonder my 27-year-old self was so obsessed with him. I was her actual husband, but I could never compete with her blatant favoritism for another man, all under the convenient excuse of them being childhood friends. Anyone would lose their mind. Ethan looked at me with feigned concern. "Mr. Miller, I heard about what happened. Are you feeling any better?" I snorted, not bothering to hide my contempt. I didn't know what my older self was like around them. Probably a total pushover, letting them walk all over him because he was so in love with Sarah. But this was the 18-year-old me. I wasn't in love with Sarah, and I had no reason to take their crap. Ethan turned to Sarah, looking troubled. "Sarah, I'm sorry. It seems Mr. Miller doesn't want me here. Perhaps I shouldn't have come." "Then why did you?" I cut in. "Did you come here to gloat?" Ethan's face flushed. Sarah shot me an icy glare. "Daniel, stop making a scene." She was defending him. A sour feeling grew in my stomach, and my already tarnished image of her fell even further. Waking up married to the girl I'd had a huge crush on had been, for a moment, thrilling. But now I was starting to see that Sarah wasn't all that great. So what if she's beautiful and rich? Does treating your husband like garbage make you feel powerful? If you felt that way, you shouldn't have married me in the first place. I was seething, but Ethan remained the picture of a calm gentleman. "Sarah, I actually came to invite you to my victory party." After saying that, he seemed to remember I was standing right there. Realizing it would be rude not to, he added as an afterthought, "Mr. Miller, you should come too, of course." I had no intention of going, but then I saw the faint glint of contempt and challenge in Ethan's eyes, and a smirk played on my lips. Of course. After all, I'm Sarah's husband. It's my job to accompany her to these things. So I went with Sarah to Ethan's party. When the three of us walked into the private room, every head turned, and the expressions on their faces were a sight to behold. Why did Sarah bring him? Are you surprised? The guy is a walking drama machine. He's hostile to every man who even looks at Sarah, let alone Ethan. I heard he tried to kill himself over Ethan. You heard right. The guy needs a reality check. He was lucky to marry Sarah in the first place. What right does he have to be possessive? And it's one thing with other guys, but this is Ethan Hayes. Does he really think he can compete? The whispers were just loud enough for me to hear. I scanned the room, guessing they were all friends of Sarah or Ethan. They were all from the same world. That much was clear. I scoffed internally. No wonder my future self tried to end it all. How could anyone listen to this garbage day in and day out and not go crazy? And I must have really loved Sarah back then to endure that kind of daily torment until the pain was so great I wanted to die. Sarah and Ethan had already taken their seats at the table, leaving me standing there by myself. Isn't he embarrassed just standing there? Embarrassed? Please. As long as he gets to be near Sarah, the guy would probably get on his knees and beg. I shot a cold look at the guy who had made the comment. She's not dead. Why would I kneel for her? The man's expression shifted, clearly shocked that I had actually talked back. Sarah looked annoyed. All right, that's enough from everyone. I was being openly mocked, and instead of defending me, she just told everyone to play nice. I let out a short, harsh laugh. Clearly I'm not welcome here. I'll see myself out. With that, I turned and walked away. I heard sharp intakes of breath behind me. Did I just see that? He actually gave Sarah an attitude. Did Ethan finally drive him over the edge? I'll give him 30 minutes tops before he comes crawling back with his tail between his legs. The noise and chatter behind me were getting on my nerves, so I went out to the pool area to get some air. A few minutes later, Ethan came out. "Mr. Miller, I have to say, you surprised me." I glanced behind him and saw he was alone. A wry smile touched my lips. "Considering how much I hate you, aren't you afraid I'll push you in?" Ethan laughed. "I'd be more surprised if you had the guts. After all, everyone knows Sarah would save me." I pressed my lips together, not wanting to waste my breath on him. Ethan moved closer. "Daniel, care to make a wager?" I found it bizarre. If you two are so in love, why doesn't Sarah just divorce me? "Ethan, do you get some kind of sick pleasure from trampling on someone's feelings to play out your little love story?" Ethan's expression faltered. "That's because you won't let her go. You're so pathetic you'd even kill yourself to keep her. She doesn't love you. She pities you." He quickly composed himself, his calm mask back in place. "So, Daniel, do you dare?" The pool's surface glittered, looking deceptively shallow. I shook my head. "No, I can't swim." And trying to kill myself was a stupid mistake I wasn't about to make twice. I had just gotten to my feet when I saw a look of mock regret in Ethan's eyes. He was standing right behind me. He shoved me hard. Splash. Screams erupted around me as my body hit the water and I began to sink. In that instant, everything went numb. There was only the terrifying sensation of being completely submerged. Water filled my throat, and my lungs felt like they were turning to lead. I thrashed, trying to get to the surface, but through the distorted water, I saw a familiar figure swimming swiftly in the other direction. My wife, Sarah, when Ethan and I were both in the water, swam to him. A sharp pain pierced my chest. It must have been the last lingering emotion of my 27-year-old self. Even though my mind had forgotten and no longer loved her, my body still remembered. And this time, that feeling was drowned for good. When I came to, I was lying on the concrete beside the pool. Both Ethan and I had been pulled out. Sarah had saved him. A woman I didn't recognize had saved me. She was beautiful, with an incredible figure. I was flat on my back as she performed chest compressions, trying to force the water from my lungs. I coughed, spitting up a lungful of water. In my peripheral vision, I saw Sarah walking towards us. Ethan was putting on a show, looking after her with a concerned expression. Sarah seemed to have just remembered she had a husband. She frowned. "Are you all right?" I didn't answer, just struggled to my feet. The woman who saved me tried to help, but I pushed her hand away. When Sarah stood in front of me, I raised my hand, fully intending to slap her. But I don't hit women. My hand stopped midair. Instead, I grabbed her not by the neck but by the arm and shoved her away from me. She stumbled and fell to the ground. The entire area fell silent. I could hear people consciously holding their breath. Sarah Vance, the untouchable princess of their world. No one had probably ever laid a hand on her, let alone shoved her to the ground. "Sarah, I want a divorce." After a long, heavy silence, I heard my own voice break it. "I don't want anything from you. Consider that shove your parting gift to your soon-to-be ex-husband." I had imagined all of Sarah's possible reactions. Anger, shock, disappointment, disgust. But whatever she felt, it didn't matter to me anymore. The silence was deafening, even more profound than before. I could hear the water dripping from my clothes onto the pavement and the sound of everyone around me breathing shallowly. They all looked stunned. Me, the guy who followed Sarah around like a lost puppy, had just shoved her. And on top of that, asked for a divorce. Sarah was silent for a long time, a red mark already forming on her cheek where she fell. She suddenly started walking toward me. I felt a wave of revulsion and took a step back. In that instant, her expression turned even darker, worse than when I had pushed her. "Already told you. Consider that our final transaction," I snapped. "Sarah, don't tell me you can't even accept that." Sarah said nothing. Her lips pressed into a thin line as she grabbed my wrist and tried to drag me away. In the confusion, another hand, a delicate one, took hold of my other arm. It was the woman who'd saved me. She glanced at me, then at Sarah, and with a playful smile, she said, "Sarah." The man almost drowned. Maybe cut him some slack? It was the woman who had pulled me from the pool. She was soaked to the bone, which gave her a wild, untamed sort of beauty. She was the complete opposite of Sarah. Sarah was cold, sharp, an ice princess. This woman was fiery and captivating. For a moment, I was captivated. Sarah seemed to notice, and her face became dangerously dark. She tightened her grip on my arm. "Chloe, he's my husband. Who are you to tell me what to do?" Chloe Reed just kept that same defiant smile. Funny, I could have sworn I just heard him say he wants a divorce. The air grew thick with tension. Chloe saw the murderous look in Sarah's eyes and just laughed. "Regardless, I did just save your husband's life. Don't I at least deserve a thank you?" Sarah's expression finally softened a fraction. "The Westchester Development Project. It's all yours." With that, she started pulling me away. A chorus of gasps followed us, a testament to everyone's shock. "The Westchester Project? That's a golden goose." Sarah just handed it to Chloe. "That's a multi-billion-dollar deal. Even the Hayes family only got a small piece, and she's giving Chloe full control. Just for saving her husband? No way." I thought Sarah couldn't stand that nobody. Sarah dragged me to a hotel. She was particular, never staying in a room someone else had used, so she had a permanent penthouse suite reserved for her here. She pulled me by the wrist, not saying a word the entire time, and guided me into the bathtub. As the warm water washed over me, I finally spoke. Sarah, can you please leave? She was just as she'd been before, cold and withdrawn. She'd been like this ever since I shoved her. No, she said after a long pause, her voice hoarse. I was just about to get out of the tub when she suddenly walked back in. I had no idea what she was planning, and it startled me. The next second, I felt her weight against me as she wrapped her arms around me in a tight embrace. Sarah's arms wound around me like vines, so tight I could barely breathe. Her chin rested on top of my head. I struggled, but she only held on tighter. Just as my patience wore out, I heard her voice, strained and quiet. Daniel, thank God you're okay. My own voice was ice. Sarah, stop pretending. Chloe was the one who saved me. What right did she have to say that? I would never forget the sight of her swimming towards him when we were both drowning. Even though I'd lost 5 years of memories and didn't love her anymore, my heart still felt a primal stab of pain. It was a suffocating feeling, like drowning all over again. I guess that was the last gasp of my 27-year-old self. I'm clearly amnesia. Otherwise, given how much my older self apparently loved her, the pain probably would have killed me. Sarah was speechless. She opened her mouth as if to say something, but no words came out. I can't swim. She saved Ethan. That's a fact. If it weren't for Chloe, I wouldn't be here right now. I was wrong, Sarah finally said after a long silence. Daniel, it won't happen again. I don't care, I said flatly. After we're divorced, you can save whoever you want. It'll have nothing to do with me. Sarah's arms tightened around me. I know you're angry, but it's not what you think. She paused, and I don't agree to a divorce. On what grounds? When we were both drowning, you chose him without a second's hesitation. You put his life before mine. I don't see any reason for this marriage to continue. Besides, she chose him in front of all those people. Do I have no pride? No self-respect? Sarah, I'm telling you, this marriage is over. She looked angry, but she knew I had every right to be, so she held her tongue. After I got out of the tub and into bed, she was on me again, wrapping herself around me. Let's just get some sleep. We can talk tomorrow. Get away from me, I said through gritted teeth. Sarah, don't make me get rough. Sarah scoffed. You? Get rough with me? I'd like to see you try. I gritted my teeth and shifted my weight, pressing against her in a way that made her gasp. Her face flushed for a second before she suddenly softened, placing a light kiss on the corner of my mouth. All right, stop it. I know I was wrong. I'll find a way to make it up to you. My head was starting to ache, my temples throbbing. I couldn't imagine how pathetic my 27-year-old self must have been for her to think that after everything that had happened, she could still smooth things over this easily. What did she take me for? I clenched my fists and shoved her off me. Sarah's expression hardened. She suddenly shifted, pinning me beneath her, looking down at me. If you can't sleep, then let's do something to help. Just as her lips were about to touch mine, my face went white, and a cold sweat broke out on my forehead. Pain, I gasped. The word escaped my lips, and my whole body started to shake. Sarah seemed to snap out of it. Where does it hurt? The genuine panic in her eyes for that 1 second almost made me believe she cared. But I quickly dismissed the thought. I was imagining things. A woman who didn't care if I lived or died wasn't going to care about a cut on my wrist. I bit my lip and said nothing. Sarah sounded frantic now. Tell me where it hurts. Please. Before I could answer, the faint, coppery smell of blood filled the air. Sarah stared, stunned, at the hand she was gripping, my wrist still wrapped in gauze. She had assumed it was all a ploy for attention, another dramatic gesture. It had never occurred to her that the cut was real. Her face grim, she slowly unwrapped the bandage. It was soaked through with fresh blood. When she saw the raw, open gash in my skin, her pupils contracted sharply. Daniel, I stared at her coldly, yanking my hand back despite the searing pain. You see it now? Are you satisfied? You were serious? A storm brewed in her eyes. Who gave you permission to do this to yourself? I met her gaze without flinching. Why would you care? You just stood by and watched me drown. My words hit their mark. I saw her flinch, her eyes darting away for a second, as if to escape the accusation. A moment later, she spoke, her voice raspy. I'm calling a doctor. And arriving with the doctor was Ethan. He'd changed into fresh clothes, his dark hair perfectly styled. He looked every bit the charming, wealthy playboy. He stood nervously in the doorway. Sarah, is he all right? Sarah nodded, her gaze heavy. You should go home and get some rest. I'll handle this. I just feel so terrible. Ethan sighed, playing the part of the perfect gentleman. After all, It was because of me that Mr. Miller almost drowned. Before he could finish his little speech, I cut him off. You're a hell of an actor. His face changed instantly. It's a shame there are no security cameras by that pool. If Sarah had heard what you said to me right before you pushed me, I wonder what she'd think of you then. In the end, Ethan made a hasty exit. He was probably used to getting his way with Sarah by stirring up trouble, but I wasn't playing his game anymore. I was calling him out on everything, and he couldn't handle it. He had no idea why I'd suddenly changed so much. He knew he'd blow his cover if he stayed any longer, so he left. I was relieved. I didn't want to see either of them. Sarah gave me a long, searching look. You get some rest. I'll come back tomorrow. I nodded. Bring the divorce papers with you. If you won't draw them up, I'll have my lawyer do it. Her fortune was probably astronomical. If her lawyers drafted the papers, it would be cleaner, and she couldn't accuse me of being after her money. Sarah's eyes darkened for a moment. Finally, she just said, I'm not divorcing you. Then she turned, closed the door, and left. I guess even she knew her presence was just irritating me. A few minutes later, I got an iMessage from Sarah's phone, telling me to wait for her here tomorrow. I looked at my phone and tried my own birthday as the passcode, but it didn't work. On a hunch, I tried Sarah's birthday. It unlocked immediately. I let out a bitter laugh, disgusted with the doormat I had become. I immediately changed the passcode back to my own birthday. The next day, I didn't wait for her. Instead, I called Chloe. It's Daniel Miller. I got straight to the point. Do you have time to grab a coffee? What's this about? Chloe's voice was a little husky, with a playful edge to it. I wanted to thank you properly. You saved my life yesterday. I've always been someone who repays their debts. I really can't fathom how my 27-year-old self could have become so pathetic for a woman. Okay, we agreed to meet at a coffee shop nearby. When I got there, Chloe was already waiting. You're punctual, I said, taking a seat. So tell me, how can I thank you? Anything's fine. Chloe studied me, a slight frown on her face. You seem different somehow. Not like you used to be. Really, I ran a hand through my hair, not wanting to reveal my amnesia. Besides, I had no idea what my history with this Chloe was. Based on yesterday, I assumed we were practically strangers. I forced a smile. How so? Probably just shaken up from yesterday. Daniel, what's really going on with you? Chloe's expression turned serious. We've known each other for years. You can talk to me. I froze. We've known each other for years? I don't remember that at all. Chloe tapped her fingers on the table. Don't tell me you've forgotten me. I gave her a wry look. Should I? The way she was looking at me, so intently, made me feel like she could see right through me. Daniel, something is seriously wrong. Ever since you woke up, you've been a completely different person. Is this because of Sarah? I let out a sarcastic laugh. Even you can tell I'm different, but she's completely oblivious. It just proves this marriage is a lost cause. Chloe looked at me as if I'd just said something unbelievable. You're really going to divorce her? Surprised? I took a sip of my coffee. After what happened yesterday, don't you think I have grounds for it? She shook her head. The way you used to be so completely obsessed with her, I just never thought you'd actually go through with it. A teasing smile played on her lips. When you married Sarah, you were absolutely crazy about her. You followed her everywhere. You couldn't stand any man who came near her, especially not Ethan Hayes. Was I really that bad? Worse, you were incredibly possessive, but also a total doormat, terrified she'd leave you. But to be fair, even though she always acted like she couldn't stand you, she never actually talked about leaving. She sighed. After you married her, you cut off all your old friends, especially the women. We were friends in college, Daniel. We went through a lot together. Even after I told you how I felt and you turned me down, I thought we were still friends. But you just ghosted everyone. The only reason I ever see you now is because I managed to work my way into Sarah's social circle, and even then, you act like you don't know me. She told me a lot, and our relationship started to make sense. We'd met after I was 18, which is why I had no memory of her. So, I met Chloe in college. She told me she liked me. I turned her down, and then I met Sarah, and we got married on a whim. After marrying her, I turned into a pathetic loser, a laughingstock with no dignity. I was so pathetically in love with her that I cut off everyone from my past. Chloe's only option was to infiltrate Sarah's social circle just to get a chance to speak to me. So you must know me pretty well, I said, my eyes lighting up. With my amnesia, I was completely in the dark about my life. I didn't even know what I did for a living. Having her around could make things a lot easier. I didn't want Sarah to find out about the amnesia. That would just complicate everything. Time flew by. I didn't say it out loud, but Chloe seemed to understand I was in some kind of trouble. She didn't pry. but she did fill me in on what my life had been like for the past few years. I got the gist of it, and I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of awe. I couldn't believe my 27-year-old self was capable of loving someone that much. It was something my 18-year-old self could never comprehend. I'd lost 9 years of my life only to wake up as the exact type of pathetic doormat I'd always looked down on. It was unacceptable. Just as Chloe and I were laughing about something, a familiar voice cut in from nearby. "Isn't that Daniel? What's he doing with Chloe Reed?" The voice belonged to Ethan, who then added, as if having a revelation, "Oh, he must be thanking her for yesterday. I'm sure Daniel isn't the type to be meeting with other women behind Sarah's back." I turned and saw Sarah standing there, with Ethan right beside her. Sarah's eyes were cold. "I recall telling you I don't like you spending time with her." I scowled. "We're getting a divorce. It's none of your damn business." I couldn't believe I had actually ghosted my own friends just because Sarah didn't approve. Maintaining boundaries is one thing, but what right did she have to demand I have no female friends at all? Sarah turned her blank expression to Chloe. "You saved my husband yesterday. I thank you with the Westchester Project. There's no need for you two to meet privately." Chloe just smiled, a challenging look in her eyes. "Yesterday, you thanked me as his wife. Today, I'm here as his friend, accepting his thanks. Don't get the two confused." The tension in the air was suddenly thick enough to cut with a knife. I didn't want to deal with them. I grabbed my bag. "Chloe, let's go somewhere else." Sarah's hand shot out and grabbed my arm. "Where do you think you're going?" she asked, her voice cold. "What's it to you?" I glanced at Ethan standing behind her. "Go spend time with your boyfriend, and send me the divorce papers, or he'll always be nothing more than the other man." Sarah opened her mouth to say something, but I had no interest in hearing it. I shook her hand off and left with Chloe. I didn't get back to the house until evening. This world still felt alien to me. I knew I had to find my own place in the next couple of days, otherwise I'd be homeless after the divorce. When Sarah saw me walk in, she approached me with a frosty expression. "So you decided to come home?" Her accusatory tone pissed me off. "Would you stop hovering over me? I just went out with a friend. It has nothing to do with you." The moment the words left my mouth, a sharp pain shot through my temples. Blurry images flashed in my mind. I stumbled back, grabbing the arm of the sofa for support. It felt like I'd heard those exact words before. I looked up at her, my eyes bloodshot. I remembered. A clear image surfaced in my mind. Sarah saying those exact same words to me. She'd be out late for work events, and when I asked where she'd been, she'd brush me off with that same impatient tone. And now, I was throwing her own words right back at her. Sarah seemed to remember it too. Her throat worked for a moment before she spoke. "My meeting with Ethan wasn't what you think. Our families have been friends for generations. Some things are unavoidable, but I've been trying to see him less." "You don't have to do this," I cut her off. "If you're feeling guilty because you didn't save me, and that's why you don't want a divorce, don't bother. There's no need." I shook my head. "You'd be better off just giving me a generous settlement in the divorce." After that, Sarah and I ended things on another sour note. I truly couldn't understand it. Why was she so against a divorce? She was in love with Ethan and couldn't stand me. A divorce should have been exactly what she wanted. I couldn't figure her out, and I was done trying. The next day, I found a new place and moved out. When Sarah got home and realized I was gone, she called me immediately. "Daniel, what is the meaning of this? What do you think it means? We're getting divorced. We can't keep living together." I added, "Just get the papers drawn up as soon as you can." She hung up before I could finish. I tossed my phone on the table. I was done catering to her. I had just finished unpacking at my new place when there was a knock on the door. I assumed it was a delivery, but when I opened it, Sarah was standing there, her face a mask of controlled fury. My expression soured. "What are you doing here? Wait, how did you even find me?" Sarah strode past me into the apartment, glancing around at the modest furnishings. "You'd rather live in this dump than stop this childish tantrum and come home." I took a deep breath. "Sarah, I'm not throwing a tantrum. I'm serious about divorcing you." At this point, I was genuinely confused. "Why are you fighting this?" "You stay here, bewildered. Isn't this exactly what you've always wanted? When did I ever say I wanted a divorce?" She looked at me like I was insane. "Are you still angry about Ethan?" Her gaze hardened. "I thought you understood. I didn't mean not to save you that day." I just stood there, rigid and silent. She sighed, put her hands on my shoulders, and guided me to the sofa. "Daniel, stop this. Come home with me. I promise. Nothing like that will ever happen again." It had happened so many times before. It was a little late for her to start making promises now. I pushed her hand away. "No, thanks. Just have the divorce papers ready." Sarah suddenly cupped my face in her hands. Daniel, are you really going to take this so far? I told you this isn't a tantrum, and you're really going to sleep in this place by yourself? What other choice do I have? She suddenly nibbled on my earlobe. Honey, come home. You know you can't sleep well by yourself. I almost laughed. Maybe this place seems like a hovel to a princess like you, but it's fine for me, and it's close to my office. Sarah sighed. Do I have to spell out for you? Daniel, you can't sleep without me. My eyes widened as if I'd heard something from a horror movie. I can't sleep without you. Ever since I woke up, I'd gotten the impression that we were a miserable couple. I loved her, she hated me. But the way she was talking now, you'd think we were a deeply in love couple that just fought a lot. Sarah started to say something else, but I pulled her to her feet and pushed her toward the door. Sarah, I've made up my mind. I'm divorcing you. I can't live like this for one more day. After kicking Sarah out, I started getting my new apartment in order. I gotten the basics of my job figured out, but catching up was a struggle and required a lot of my time. That evening, I decided to order some food and scroll through Facebook while I waited. A photo posted by Ethan caught my eye. It was a picture of him and Sarah, though it was subtle, only showing her in profile. But her profile was so distinctive you could recognize her from just a shadow. Ethan had also posted a cryptic caption. If only we hadn't missed our chance, maybe I'd be the one by your side now. But it's not too late to fix our mistakes. I scoffed. He was basically broadcasting that Sarah and I had a loveless marriage, that we'd divorce soon, and that he'd be there to pick up the pieces. I liked the post, left a 100 emoji in the comments, and then immediately unfriended and blocked him. Then I found Sarah's contact and blocked her number and all her social media accounts. The next day, when I got to my office building, Sarah was already there waiting for me, her expression grim. She saw me and strode over. Did you block me? Sorry, I said, deciding to be direct. I shouldn't have blocked you. Her expression softened slightly, so I continued. I forgot we're not divorced yet. Are you here with the papers? I was just about to take some time off, so I'm free. We can sign them and go straight to the courthouse. Sarah's face instantly became a thundercloud. Daniel, unblock my number. No, honey, her voice suddenly softened. I'm sorry. Please, just unblock me. I rolled my eyes. I don't even know your number. The words were barely out of my mouth when her expression shifted dramatically. You don't remember my number? No, why? She gripped my shoulders, her eyes searching my face as if just now realizing something was truly wrong. How could you forget my number? You knew it better than your own. Crap. My heart sank. She was onto me. I avoided her gaze. I just forgot, okay? We're getting divorced. Is it a crime to forget your number? Daniel, what is wrong with you? Sarah stared at me. Her eyes narrowed. Ever since you woke up, you've been like a completely different person. Afraid she'd figure it out, I pulled my arm away. Isn't that normal? People change after a near-death experience. Did you expect me to go back to being your pathetic little shadow with no self-respect? Sarah stared at me, a dangerous light in her eyes. Ignoring my excuses, she snatched my phone. She tried to unlock it with a familiar motion, but the passcode was wrong. She frowned. You changed your passcode? Yeah. So what? Your old passcode was my birthday, she said, her voice cold, but I saw a flicker of hurt in her eyes. I was done arguing about this. Sarah, give me back my phone. I need to get to work. If you wanted, I could buy this entire company for you. Why do you even need this job? She said, trying a few more passcodes. Our anniversary. Wrong. She pressed her lips together, then tried my birthday. It worked. She gave me a strange, lingering look, then changed the passcode to our anniversary without a word. I grabbed the phone back and tried to unlock it, but it wouldn't open. Sarah, what the hell gives you the right to change my passcode? I yelled, furious. The passcode is our wedding anniversary. You can change it back if you want. I froze. How was I supposed to know our wedding anniversary? I had amnesia. All I knew of her was a high school crush. Now that I knew what she was really like, her pretty face, her money, none of it meant anything to me. I had no reason to know something like that. You've forgotten, haven't you? Her eyes were like a hawk's, piercing right through me. She gripped my shoulders. You have amnesia. She said the words with absolute certainty. It was true. I had amnesia. And now that Sarah knew, the divorce process came to a grinding halt. Knowing I had amnesia gave her the perfect excuse to refuse the divorce. You just don't remember, she'd say. It doesn't mean you don't love me. Those were her exact words. Daniel, once your memory comes back, you won't want to divorce me. Her words disgusted me. I was terrified that if my memory did return, I'd revert to being that pathetic 27-year-old version of myself. That version of me was just too sad. I'd rather never remember. When I got back to my apartment after work, I opened the door and was about to drop my bag on the sofa when I saw a dark figure sitting there. It looked up at me suddenly. "Daniel," she said. It was Sarah. I jumped. "When did you get here? Wait, how did you get a key to my apartment?" "I contacted the landlord," Sarah said simply. I was losing my patience. "Give me the key. I'm changing the locks tomorrow." She didn't say anything, just stared at me with that complicated look in her eyes. "How much have you forgotten?" "I haven't forgotten anything." I snapped. "I'm divorcing you because I don't love you anymore. How many times do I have to tell you?" Before I could finish, Sarah grabbed my arm and wrapped her arms around my waist, holding me tightly and burying her face against my side. The position was intimate, but she didn't seem to be trying anything. She just seemed to want to hold on to me. "Don't say that," she said, her voice hoarse. "You have amnesia, so I'll let it slide for now. We'll settle this when you get your memory back." I was at the end of my rope. "Sarah, will you just stop? You don't love me. You treat me like dirt. Why in the world would I want to stay with you? So what if I have amnesia? I hate the person I was, the one who chased you around with no sense of self. I like who I am now. I don't love you, do you get it? I wanted to leave you for a long time. I wanted to leave you." Realizing the finality in my voice, Sarah held me even tighter. "No, we're just fighting." "Daniel, already explained. That day at the pool, it wasn't intentional." She cupped my face in her hands. "I didn't want to have to say this, because I thought we understood each other. I thought you'd know that even though I saved Ethan, there had to be a reason, a misunderstanding." She rested her forehead against mine and sighed. "But now that you've lost your memory, I guess I need to explain. Ethan and I, it's not what you think. The Vance and Hayes families go way back. His grandfather did a huge favor for mine, and our families arranged for us to be engaged when we were kids. But I never had romantic feelings for him. After I married you, my grandfather felt he owed their family, so he asked me to look out for Ethan. That's all it is." I scoffed. "And who's supposed to believe that? You clearly value his life more than mine." Sarah gently squeezed my cheek and sighed. "So you're still upset about that? I'm sorry. I didn't know you had amnesia, or I would have explained everything immediately." I had no desire to hear her excuses, but Sarah was insistent. She held me so tightly I couldn't move, so I had no choice but to listen. "That day when I heard someone fell in, my first instinct was to look for you. When they said it was Ethan, I was relieved. But my grandfather loves him like a grandson, so I had to help him. I had no idea you were in the water too." Just a few simple sentences, and just like that, she'd absolve herself of all blame. She saw the disbelief on my face and was silent for a long moment. "You don't believe me, do you?" "Why should I?" I stared at her, my voice flat. "Everyone saw you. You didn't hesitate. You went straight for him. It had nothing to do with me. And after Chloe pulled me out, you treated me like I was nothing." "Sarah, I'm not an idiot. I can feel your contempt." Sarah's throat worked, and she hugged me again, but this time her embrace was gentle, almost fragile. It was the first time I'd ever seen her show any vulnerability. "Daniel, I wasn't being cold," she said, her voice low. "I was furious. Furious that you had almost died. If you hadn't been okay, I think I would have killed someone that day." I shook my head. "Sarah, if you really care about me, then let me go. Give me a divorce. Let me be free." "Anything but that," she whispered, still holding on. "We can talk about divorce when you get your memory back. You really think that if my memory comes back, I won't want to leave you?" I frowned. She didn't answer, but her silence was answer enough. I laughed coldly. "It's no use, Sarah. If fate made me forget, maybe it's because I'm not supposed to remember. Maybe this is my chance to finally get away from you." I was terrified of remembering, of becoming that 27-year-old again. Sarah had no choice but to back off for the time being. I managed a few days of normal life before Ethan tracked me down. "Daniel, we need to talk." He looked terrible, haggard and exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes. He was waiting for me outside my office building, and I didn't want to make a scene in front of my colleagues. "Whatever you have to say, make it quick." Ethan let out a bitter laugh. "You must be feeling pretty smug. Sarah unilaterally canceled all contracts with the Hayes Corporation. Now everyone knows our family has lost its biggest supporter." I frowned, genuinely surprised. But I kept my voice even. "What's that got to do with me? You should take it up with her." "But she said she won't help me." "What did you say to her?" I was losing my patience. "I thought you were here to apologize. But you're just here to look out for yourself. We have nothing to talk about." I turned to leave, but Ethan's voice, sharp and desperate, stopped me. "Daniel, why you? Why does a nobody from the middle of nowhere get to be her husband? Why her?" What do you have that I don't? I stopped in my tracks. A sharp ringing filled my ears, making it hard to think. I felt like I'd heard those words before. Right after Sarah and I got married, all her high society friends used to mock me. Back then, Ethan had pretended to be my friend, acting all understanding and giving me advice. But his advice always ended with me humiliating myself in public. I became insecure, timid, constantly walking on eggshells. I grew paranoid, terrified that Sarah would leave me. The images flashed through my mind, fragmented but vivid. I knew they were my memories, just not fully formed yet. Ethan ran up behind me. "Daniel, I can apologize, but you have to tell Sarah. Get lost." I shoved his hand away, my eyes burning. "I don't give a damn about you and Sarah. And you can tell her that I don't want to see either of you ever again. The further away you both are, the better." I turned to go and nearly collided with a familiar figure. A light, amused laugh came from above me. "How do we always manage to walk in on a scene like this, Sarah?" It was Chloe's voice. Before I could react, I was pulled in another direction. By the time I registered what was happening, Sarah was at my side, glaring at Chloe. "Stay away from him." Chloe just shrugged. "I wasn't doing anything. You're so tense." Then she turned her smile on Ethan, whose face was pale. "Why are you always harassing Daniel? He's the one causing trouble for me." Ethan snapped, his expression only softening when he looked at Sarah. "Sarah, we grew up together. We were childhood friends. What happened before was just a misunderstanding. Can't you just let it go?" Sarah's reply was cold. "I've done everything I was obligated to do. I don't owe you anything else. I helped you because of your grandfather, but that doesn't give you the right to be greedy." "I'm greedy." Ethan's face contorted with anger, but he couldn't find the words to argue. He just clenched his fists, shot me a hateful look, and stormed off. After he was gone, I found out why he had been so desperate to find me. Sarah had publicly addressed the incident at the pool. She had made a statement saying that it was never a choice between me and Ethan. She would always choose to save me. She said the only reason she went to Ethan first was because she hadn't realized I was in the water too. If she had known I was in trouble, there would have been no choice to make. She would have come for me. Her words were blunt, completely demolishing the idea that Ethan held any special importance to her, let alone that he was more important than me. Before this, I had been the laughingstock of our social circle. My own wife didn't care if I lived or died. Everyone was just waiting for the day she'd finally dump me. I never expected such a complete reversal. All those people ever cared about was Sarah's opinion. By saying what she did, she was publicly backing me up and humiliating Ethan. No wonder Ethan was so rattled. It wasn't just about the business deals. His entire public image had been shattered. But I still didn't get it. If Sarah really didn't have feelings for him, why had I spent the last 5 years treating him like my mortal enemy? Those fragmented memories flickered in my mind again, bringing with them a dull headache. I shook my head to clear it. Sarah saw my discomfort, and a flicker of worry crossed her face. She steadied me with a hand on my arm. "Are you okay? I can take you to a doctor." "I'm fine," I said, pulling my arm away. "Just make sure your friend Ethan stays away from me from now on. That's all I need from you." "Don't worry. I won't give him the chance," Sarah said, her voice low and firm. "I won't make that mistake again." Chloe, who was still standing nearby, chimed in. "You can choose not to make the same mistake twice, but that doesn't mean every mistake can be forgiven." I thought she had a point. I agreed completely. Sarah shot her a cold look. "I gave you the Westchester project as a thank you for saving him. Don't push your luck." Chloe laughed. "I'm his lifesaver. The man can't swim. If I hadn't jumped in, you'd be a widow right now. Is that really the tone you want to take with me?" Sarah's eyes narrowed, a dangerous glint in them. "How do you know he can't swim?" A rare, mischievous smile played on Chloe's lips. "How do you think?" She sighed dramatically. "Well, since you two are getting divorced anyway, I guess I don't have to hide it. I've known him for years. I even told him I liked him, but then he fell for you." She clicked her tongue. "Daniel, if you're starting to think you made the wrong choice back then, I'm willing to give you a second chance." In the next instant, Sarah lunged at her. The two of them started fighting, a tangle of limbs and fury. I'd never seen the cool, composed Sarah lose control like that. I'd also never seen two women fight before. I just stood there and let them go at it. I had no interest in playing referee. It was childish. I just shook my head and went back to the office. I didn't expect her to be so fast. By the time I got back to my building, Sarah was already waiting for me. She had a bruise forming on her lip, but her eyes lit up when she saw me. "I'll come pick you up after work." I glanced at the bruise. She looked away, a little self-conscious. "Don't worry, I'm fine. You should see the other girl." I scoffed. Who said I was worried about you? Don't flatter yourself. The light in her eyes dimmed, but she repeated, I'll pick you up after work. I was losing my patience. I told you I want a divorce. Which part of that are you not understanding? A hurt look crossed her face. She lowered her voice. Daniel, you have amnesia. You don't remember how you feel about me. Once your memory comes back, it'll be okay. And why would I want to remember? Just because you and Ethan are supposedly innocent? The hurt was real, and my decision to divorce you is final. Or do you think that if I remember, I'll go back to being your pathetic little doormat, ready to forgive you at the snap of your fingers? I never thought that, Sarah said, her voice strained. Looking at her, I suddenly felt a wave of exhaustion. I looked her straight in the eye. Sarah, when I woke up, I had lost everything. I was terrified, and when I found out you were my wife, I was happy because I remembered you from before, and I thought you were a good person. I always had this idea of what marriage would be like. I thought I'd marry someone kind. I never imagined my wife would be like you. I'm disappointed in you, but I'm also disappointed in myself. I've always despised guys who are doormats, but that's exactly what I became, letting you hurt me over and over in the name of love until I wasn't even myself anymore. Since I woke up, I haven't felt a single ounce of love from you. Just annoyance and impatience. So what if you and Ethan are innocent? You failed as a wife. You let him hurt me, and you hurt me. There's nothing left to save in this marriage. Let's get a divorce. I had said everything that was on my mind, and in that moment, I thought I saw something in Sarah's eyes break. I turned and walked away without a second glance. After that day, I refused to hear anything about Sarah. The people in our circle were vultures, always flocking to power. After what happened, they started trying to get information from me. Some of them tried to suck up to me, but I ignored them all. I just focused on my work and waited for the day Sarah would finally give in. At the end of the workday, I stretched. I was thinking of asking Chloe out to dinner to thank her properly, but as I stepped out of the building, I saw a black luxury car parked at the curb. My colleagues were whispering amongst themselves, shooting knowing glances in my direction. I couldn't let my annoyance show, so I forced a smile as I saw Sarah leaning against the car door. She had a stunning figure and a face that turned heads everywhere. I cursed under my breath and started to walk past her without making eye contact, but she immediately moved to intercept me. Daniel, she called out, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it. I frowned, my patience thin. Are you here with the divorce papers? The smile on her face faltered for a second before she recovered, deliberately changing the subject. She produced a set of car keys from her pocket. Daniel, do you like it? A chorus of oohs and ahs went up from my colleagues. I've been keeping my distance from them because of the amnesia, and I couldn't believe Sarah would pull such a tacky, public stunt. I don't like SUVs, I said automatically. But even as I said it, I felt a genuine thrill at the sight of the keys. So I like SUVs. That was a surprise. My 18-year-old self was all about sports cars. A crowd was starting to form. I was getting uncomfortable. I tried to get Sarah to leave, but she wouldn't budge. Finally, I had no choice but to grab her hand. Let's talk about this somewhere private. She led me to the car, and the next thing I knew, we were sitting in a restaurant. Just have dinner with me, Sarah said, a sad, lonely look on her face. I frowned. If I have dinner with you, will you agree to the divorce? Sarah was silent for a long time. If you don't have this dinner with me, she finally said, I will never divorce you. Fine, you said it. I picked up my fork. She had clearly planned this. There was wine, candles, elaborate floral arrangements, a full-on romantic dinner. The portions were small, but it was beautifully presented. I finished quickly, wiped my mouth, and stood up. I'm done. I'm leaving. As I got up, Sarah looked at me, her expression wounded. Daniel, have you forgotten what today is? What day is it? I asked, confused. Sarah's grip on her silverware tightened. After a moment, she said quietly, It's our wedding anniversary. Anniversary? I searched my blank memory, but I had no idea how we might have celebrated it in the past. Seeing the sad look on her face, I fought back a sarcastic comment and said flatly, Well, that's fitting. We can consider this our last supper. She remained silent, the candlelight casting shadows under her eyes, which only served to accentuate her delicate, beautiful features. I knew she was trying to win me back, but I truly believed there was nothing left to save. Excuse me, I said, I need to use the restroom, and walked away. In the restroom, I stood in front of a large mirror and splashed cold water on my face, trying to clear my head. I looked at my reflection and told myself not to go back. Don't fall for it. I patted my cheeks to ground myself. As I turned to leave, I saw Sarah walking toward me. Her gaze was deep, filled with a heavy emotion I couldn't quite read. "Daniel, please, just remember," she pleaded. Before I could react, she had backed me against the wall. Her lips were on mine, her arms wrapped around my waist, clinging to me. Her kiss was gentle, but her movements were desperate. "Sarah, let go of me." I don't know how much time passed. I was enveloped in her scent, but all I wanted to do was push her away. "Sarah, it's no use." I knew she was only this desperate because of my amnesia. She thought that once my memory returned, I wouldn't be able to leave her. It was pointless. I know myself. Even if I only stopped loving you because of the amnesia, I have a feeling that even if I got my memory back right now, I would still divorce you. The moment I said it, I saw a look of pure panic flash across her face. I'd never seen her look like that. She grabbed my hand, her fingers lacing through mine, squeezing so hard it hurt. "No, Daniel, you love me. We love each other. You've just forgotten. In love?" The thought was almost laughable. I tried to step back, but my head slammed against the wall. A sharp, blinding pain shot through my skull, and my face went pale. Sarah panicked. "Daniel, what's wrong? Are you okay?" I pushed her away, gritting my teeth against the pain. "I'm fine. Don't touch me." Sarah could only stand beside me, her arms loosely around me, not trapping me, but not letting go either. Her breath was on my skin as she kissed me again, this time with a feverish intensity. My body felt weak, unable to fight back against her advance. But the throbbing pain in the back of my head was causing a flood of clear, sharp images to flash before my eyes. My legs felt weak, and I stumbled. Sarah steadied my head with one hand while her kisses grew more intense. And in that state, the fragmented images began to connect, flowing together until they formed a complete, undeniable memory. I remembered our first time, how we got together, how we got married. I also remembered how Ethan and his friends used to mock me, humiliating myself in front of her parents, being the butt of the joke among her friends. And I remembered all the fights we had about Ethan. So that's how it was. A dull ache spread through my chest as all the pain from the past came rushing back. It was a pain that even amnesia couldn't erase. My first time with Sarah was a cliché. It was at a party. She was drunk, and I'd had a little too much to drink myself. She looked me in the eyes and drunkenly asked me to walk her to her room. I don't know who made the first move, but the next thing I knew, she was in my arms. I was so nervous I could barely breathe. It was clearly her first time, too. She was gripping the sheets in a panic. But the next morning, she was back to being the cold, untouchable ice queen. When Sarah saw me the next morning, she didn't react much, just said, "We should date." I'd had a crush on her for years, so of course I agreed. After that, we fell into a passionate relationship, just like any normal couple. But we were both incredibly possessive. She told me she didn't want me getting too close to my female friends, and I didn't want her getting close to any other men. We were loyal to each other. But then Ethan came into the picture and threw everything off balance. She said her grandfather treated him like his own grandson, and she couldn't just cut him off. Her reasoning was sound, but I couldn't accept it. Ever since we got married, I've been deeply insecure about my background. She came from a powerful, wealthy family, and I was just a regular guy whose only claim to fame was getting into a good college, which is the only reason our paths ever crossed. Otherwise, a guy like me would never have even met a woman like her. And Ethan was one of them, a rich kid from her world. Even though Sarah told me his family had lost their fortune and needed her help, he was still one of them. So what if his family was struggling? He was still born with a silver spoon, something I'd never had. The gap between us made me into someone I didn't recognize. I became unreasonable. I started checking her phone, trying to control who she saw, even her colleagues and employees. I knew they were innocent, but I was so messed up I couldn't control myself. All the sweet memories we'd made faded away, replaced by constant fighting and the endless loop of me being mocked by her friends, never fitting in. I remembered our last fight. She told me she didn't want to have children. I asked her, "What if you got pregnant?" I thought if we had a child, maybe she would finally distance herself from Ethan. The look of utter disappointment she gave me still haunted me. "Do you think a child is just a tool for you to secure your position in this family? In that case, I hope I never get pregnant. And if I do, I'll get an abortion." Her words were so cruel. They pushed me into complete despair. Around that same time, everyone was talking about how Sarah would bail out the Hayes family, even if they went completely bankrupt. I begged her not to, but she went anyway. The double blow was too much. I threatened her. I told her if she went to help him, I would kill myself. I had made empty threats like that before in the heat of the moment. Sarah had put up with it once or twice, but this time, she didn't believe me. She just left. And then I actually did it, was saved, and woke up with no memory. Remembering it all now, the pain was so intense it was numbing. No wonder I wanted to forget. No wonder my mind had erased it all. The memories were just too painful. I was shaking uncontrollably. Sarah noticed. "Daniel, what's wrong?" "Sarah, you make me sick," I said, looking her in the eye and clutching my chest. Then I let out a long, weary sigh. In truth, I was disgusted with myself too. I closed my eyes, and the world went black. When I woke up again, I was in a hospital bed. A familiar doctor was checking my vitals. Sarah was holding my hand, her expression anxious. The moment she saw my eyes open, she called out, "Dr. Riley, he's awake." Dr. Nina Riley checked my pupils. "He's fine. It was just an acute stress reaction. He had some old bruising on his brain, and the knock to his head seems to have cleared it up. He just needs to rest." Sarah let out a sigh of relief. Then she turned to me. "When did you hit your head? Why didn't you tell me?" I pulled my hand from her grasp, my expression colder now than it had been even with amnesia. Sarah seemed to realize what had happened. Her lips pressed into a thin, hard line. "Daniel," she started to ask, but I cut her off. "It's no use, Sarah. I want a divorce." Sarah's throat worked, and her voice was laced with bitterness. "I told you, you just don't remember." "I remember now," I said, meeting her gaze. "I remember everything, and I still want a divorce." Her eyes widened in disbelief, a look of profound sadness in them that I had never seen before. But I knew I was making the right decision. I closed my eyes. "Being with you is too painful. Sarah, let's just get a divorce." I'd said the word divorce countless times. Every other time, Sarah had reacted with anger or denial. But this time, there was only a heavy, desolate silence. Dr. Riley, who was still in the room, seemed unable to stand it. "Daniel, don't be too harsh. Sarah has already apologized." Before she could finish, Sarah cut her off. "It's my fault." I glanced at Sarah. When I first woke up, her assistant warned me the same way. "All of your friends warned me not to be ungrateful." I paused, my voice softening slightly. "Sarah, do you still think we shouldn't get a divorce?" After I left the hospital that day, I didn't see Sarah for a long time. I had said my piece, and I figured she would eventually come to terms with it and let go. I assumed it was only a matter of time before the divorce papers arrived. My life settled into a peaceful routine. Work got back on track. The only headache was Chloe. When she found out I had my memory back, she started contacting me frequently. "So you really did have amnesia?" I had my doubts, but wow. She gave me that same flirtatious smile. "So, after your divorce is final, what do you say you give me a chance?" "I'm not divorced yet." I corrected her. "The papers aren't even signed. What you're doing right now makes you the other woman. I suggest you back off." I wasn't saying it to protect Sarah's feelings. I just wasn't ready to jump into another relationship. Besides, while Chloe hadn't technically been a third party, she had inserted herself into my life before things with Sarah were truly over. I was grateful to her for saving my life, but that was it. "I'm grateful to you," I told her, "but that's all it is." "You don't have to be so harsh," Chloe said, feigning hurt, but then her expression relaxed. "Hey, I was just shooting my shot," she admitted. "Daniel, I got over you a long time ago. It just pissed me off seeing you so miserable." "I get it." I gave her a quick, friendly hug. As I did, I saw Sarah walking toward us in the distance. I felt a surge of annoyance and was about to leave, but then Sarah suddenly rushed to the side of the street and started retching. Chloe's expression soured. Did she get so disgusted by the sight of us hugging that it made her sick? "No, it's not that," Sarah managed to say, her voice strained. "I don't feel well." A sudden thought struck me, and I exchanged a look with Chloe. Her face fell as she stared at Sarah. "You're not." Sarah's eyes widened as the same possibility dawned on her. "A baby." I shook my head fiercely. "No." I closed my eyes, the world spinning. I suddenly remembered the final straw that had pushed me to suicide, Sarah telling me she never wanted children, and that if she ever got pregnant, she'd have an abortion. Seeing my reaction, Sarah ignored her own nausea and stepped toward me, her voice thick with emotion. "Daniel." I was agitated, not wanting to deal with the possibility that she was pregnant. "The only place I want to see you again is in a courtroom," I snapped. Sarah wiped her mouth and pulled out another set of keys, her expression crestfallen. "You don't like the SUV. What about a sports car?" "I don't like that either," I said coldly. "I don't want anything from you." Sarah's eyes were red-rimmed. "You don't like the SUV, you don't like the sports car. What about a house? Company stock? Anything I have, it's yours. I don't know what else to do, she pleaded. We can fight. You can yell at me. I don't care. Just please don't divorce me. I didn't want to make a scene in the middle of the street, so I grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the car. As we started driving, she looked even more pale. I sighed and asked stiffly, "Are you okay?" She immediately sat up straighter and shook her head. "I'm fine." Then, she placed a hand on her stomach, a hopeful look on her face. The gesture left me speechless. After a moment, I calmed down. I took a deep breath and said evenly, "Sarah, you don't have to do this. I'm not even angry anymore. Besides the fact that you saving Ethan hurt me, I've had time to think. We're just not right for each other. You never made me feel secure, but I also lacked confidence. I became paranoid and did a lot of things that drove you crazy. I'm not blameless in this. We both made mistakes that led us here." It was almost funny, in a sad way. As much as I couldn't stand to be around Sarah, I couldn't stand the person I had become either. I was obsessed with her, my entire world revolving around our relationship, as if nothing else mattered. That version of me had no appeal. If I didn't even like myself, how could I expect her to? "I didn't dislike you," Sarah said, her voice hoarse. "I got frustrated, yes, but I never once thought about divorcing you. I thought, even with all the fighting, we'd spend the rest of our lives together. But I can't live like that anymore," I said, shaking my head. "Ethan was just a catalyst. The real problem is that we're from two different worlds. I can't trust you, and you can't be expected to cater to my insecurities forever. Eventually, we'd just wear each other out, and some new problem would come up. Sarah, we're adults. Let's stop being so childish." I got out of the black Rolls-Royce, insisting that she not drive me home. Standing on the sidewalk, watching her drive away, I sighed. If there really was a baby. I wasn't close with my family. My parents divorced when I was young and both remarried, starting new families of their own. After I met Sarah, all I wanted was to build a happy, perfect family with her. I clung to her like she was a lifeline. But the tighter I gripped, the faster she slipped through my fingers. I had always wanted a child. So when she said what she did, it was the final nail in the coffin for me. I thought that even if Sarah didn't want the baby, if she would just carry it to term, I could raise it on my own. That would have been enough. But she didn't even give me that hope. I should have been as ruthless as she was, but the thought of it being my child, my own flesh and blood, I couldn't bring myself to be that cold. It was my day off, so I went to the hospital for a follow-up brain scan. I was on my way home, report in hand, when I saw a familiar face on the street. "Daniel, what's that in your hand?" It was Ethan. He appeared out of nowhere, startling me. I instinctively shoved the medical report into my bag. "What's it to you?" I was on my guard. He didn't look right. He was gaunt, his eyes were unfocused, and his clothes were rumpled, like he'd been through something terrible. He saw me trying to hide the papers and lunged for my bag. He was acting like a madman, and I easily pushed him away. He started screaming, "Do you know Sarah's pregnant? She's having your baby. Why? Why do I lose everything while you get her pregnant? I'm the one who was supposed to have it all. I'm her childhood friend. What right do you and nobody have to be with her?" What? Sarah was really pregnant. A wave of complex emotions washed over me, so much so that I barely registered Ethan's ranting. "Why? What? If you have a problem, take it up with Sarah," I said, stepping back. "It has nothing to do with me." I didn't want to get dragged into his drama. This was something Sarah needed to handle. My old self had been a fool, thinking that just by being her husband, I could keep other men away. A woman like her could have any man she wanted. It was a waste of energy for me to spend my life chasing off rivals. "Are you laughing at me?" Ethan let out a crazed laugh and stepped closer, his eyes boring into mine. "You know she cut all ties with my family, that I'm a joke now, that she'll never help me again. You're enjoying this, aren't you?" I frowned and tried to step around him, but he blocked my path. "You're the one who told her everything, weren't you?" "Told her what?" I had no idea what he was talking about. "You told her I was the one who was secretly sabotaging you, that I was trying to drive you apart. You told her I was the one who pushed you in the pool, didn't you? You ran to her and told on me." I scoffed. "You did all those things. Are you really surprised that people know about them?" "I knew it was you," he shrieked and lunged at me. I dodged out of the way, and that's when I saw the knife in his hand. He was coming at me, intent on killing me. He had truly been pushed over the edge. "Daniel!" I heard a frantic shout, but the searing pain I was expecting never came. When I opened my eyes, I saw Sarah standing in front of me, shielding me. I watched, frozen, as the knife sank into her chest. Blood bloomed on her shirt, and the color drained from her face. But her eyes were on me, checking to see if I was all right. She raised a hand, as if to touch my face, but it fell, lifeless, to her side. Sarah! I screamed her name, but she couldn't hear me. The hospital. Everything was a sterile white. I ran behind the nurses, helping to push the gurney. It was covered in blood. My hands were covered in blood. I held Sarah's hand, and it was trembling. Or maybe it was my hand that was trembling. I couldn't tell. She managed to squeeze my hand. Daniel, she whispered, are you okay? I'm Fina. Don't talk. Just save your strength. Every word seemed to drain the life from her. I just wanted her to be okay. She lifted her hand again, trying to touch my face. Don't cry, she rasped. It hurts my heart. Then stop talking. I pleaded. You can't die. I won't let you. Do you hear me? Don't make me live with this guilt for the rest of my life. But Sarah squeezed my hand again, using the last of her strength. If I don't make it through this, you can start over. You won't need a divorce if you're a widower. A faint, pained smile touched her lips. At least we'll still be married. Don't say stupid things like that. I had never felt so panicked in my life. I was terrified I was going to lose her. All the feelings I thought were gone came rushing back, and I realized they hadn't disappeared. They had just been buried. I tried to forget her because I didn't want to be hurt anymore. And maybe, with more time, I could have. But now, just as I remembered everything, she was dying to save my life. I couldn't let go. I still wanted the divorce, but more than anything, I wanted her to walk out of that operating room alive and well. Then we could sign the papers and go our separate ways. The light above the operating room door stayed on. I sat in the waiting area, and I waited. My hands were still covered in her blood. The world around me faded away. I didn't move until Sarah's mother rushed in. How is she? She demanded. I finally looked up, my eyes vacant. I'm sorry, I said, my voice hoarse. We don't know yet. The doctors are doing everything they can. Mrs. Vance swayed, nearly fainting. I expected her to scream at me, to blame me, but she said nothing. After she composed herself, she gave me a look and told me to wait here. I didn't know what she had in mind, but I did as I was told. A few minutes later, she returned, dragging Ethan by the hair and throwing him to the floor in front of me. He's the one who did this, isn't he? I hesitated for a second, then nodded. She grabbed a fistful of his hair and slammed his head against the floor. If anything happens to my daughter, I will destroy you. Mrs. Vance, it was Daniel's fault, not mine. He was the one I wanted to kill. I would never hurt Sarah. She slapped him hard across the face twice. Do you think that makes it any better? He is my son-in-law. You hurt him, you hurt my family, and I will not let you go. Ich steckte her, stunned. I had always assumed she didn't like me. I never would have expected her to say that. I was sure she was going to blame me. After all, Ethan had been coming for me. Sarah had taken the knife that was meant for me. What? Ethan sobbed. Mrs. Vance, you always liked me before. That was before I saw you for who you really are, she spat. I did like you. I watched you grow up. But you can't force love. My daughter doesn't love you, and I can't make her. And even if I didn't think the man she chose was right for her, at least I knew his heart was in the right place. It turns out my daughter's judgment was better than mine. I know everything you've done, she continued, her voice filled with pain. We let it slide because of your grandfather, but I never imagined you would stoop this low, that you would become this vicious. If anything happens to Sarah, I will make sure you never know a moment of peace for the rest of your life. With that, she pulled out her phone and called Sarah's father. He was already on his way. She spoke to him in low, sharp tones. Don't let the Hayes family off easy. Make sure they know this is all Ethan's fault. Ethan collapsed on the floor, sobbing like a lunatic. Mrs. Vance just shook her head, her expression pained. You were spoiled rotten. Your parents never taught you right from wrong, and this is where it's led you. Ethan was still hysterical, making a scene. I tuned him out, my eyes fixed on the operating room doors, praying that Sarah would be okay. The light above the door went out. My head snapped up. Quiet, I said to them. It's over. Mrs. Vance immediately fell silent and gestured for her security to drag Ethan away. She glanced at me, but said nothing. We both understood the situation. Nothing needed to be said. We were from completely different worlds. Our relationship had never been warm, but there was a mutual respect. The surgeon came out, and we both rushed forward. How is she? The surgeon sighed. We've stabilized her, and are closing now, but the next few hours are critical. It all depends on her will to live. His words were diplomatic, but Mrs. Vance and I understood what he was really saying. After a long silence, Sarah was moved to a private room in the ICU. Mrs. Vance and I followed her in, neither of us saying a word. Perhaps there was nothing left to say, or maybe we just didn't have the strength. Mrs. Vance's eyes were red-rimmed. All the fire she'd shown when she confronted Ethan completely gone. In the end, she was just a mother, terrified for her daughter. I sat by the bed, looking at Sarah's still, pale face. "I'm so sorry," I whispered, my voice hoarse and choked with unshed tears. Mrs. Vance didn't acknowledge me at first. After a long moment, she spoke, her voice heavy. "I'd be lying if I said I didn't blame you at all. But I know this was Ethan's fault." "I understand, Mrs. Vance," I said quietly. "No matter what happens, I'll take care of her." Mrs. Vance sighed. "I know you two were planning to divorce. And it's true, I wasn't your biggest fan. But I never tried to make your life difficult. In fact, I always defended you in public. But, Daniel, confidence has to come from within. If you don't believe you're worthy of her, if you're constantly insecure and second-guessing yourself, how can you expect anyone else to see your worth?" Sarah is their only child, and for the most part, her parents have always respected her decisions. After we got married, she had to talk with them and ask them not to interfere in our lives. And they agreed. Mrs. Vance had never spoken to me so candidly before. I just nodded, unable to find any words. Sarah's father arrived soon after, his face grim and severe. He told his wife that everything had been taken care of. Now, all they could do was wait for Sarah to wake up. After a long night's vigil, Mrs. Vance said to me, "You're exhausted. You should go home and get some rest." I shook my head. "It's all right. I'm young. You two should go home first." Mrs. Vance frowned and was about to argue, but a sudden wave of dizziness washed over me. The room spun, and then everything went black. When I came to, I was in a hospital bed next to Sarah's. Mrs. Vance saw I was awake and rushed over. "How are you feeling? Does anything hurt?" "No," I shook my head. "How long was I out?" "Not long. The doctor said it was just exhaustion. He said you need to rest." I nodded, but I noticed a complicated look in her eyes. "Is there something else?" I asked. She sighed. "Sarah's pregnant. Did you know?" I pressed my lips together, unsure how to respond. I hadn't wanted them to know. If they knew Sarah was carrying my child, they would insist she keep it. After all, they needed an heir for the Vance empire. After the divorce, they would undoubtedly fight me for custody. With their money and influence, I wouldn't stand a chance. This child was the only family I might ever have. I couldn't let that happen. I remained silent. Mrs. Vance seemed to read my thoughts and sighed. "I don't want to meddle in your and Sarah's affairs, but this child..." She looked at me intently. "The doctor said as long as the mother pulls through, the baby will be fine. When Sarah wakes up, she will want to keep this child. We want our grandchild to grow up in a stable home." I frowned. "Mrs. Vance, the most important thing right now is whether Sarah wakes up at all." Mrs. Vance sighed. "Daniel, I know Sarah has wronged you, but she truly does love you. She's just spoiled. She doesn't know how to show it properly." Before she left, she patted my shoulder. "Rest assured, no matter what happens, the Vance family will protect you. That's what Sarah would want." I nodded. After she left, it was just me and Sarah in the quiet room. I looked at her still form, a pang of pity in my chest. But then I thought about the baby, and a fresh wave of anger washed over me. "Sarah, I remember what you said, that you didn't want this baby. If you wake up and decide to get rid of it, then I hope you never wake up at all." I finished, but she remained motionless. A bitter laugh escaped me. "Weren't you going to atone for your sins? Weren't you going to change? Are you just going to lie there and take the easy way out?" I knew she couldn't hear me, but what her mother had said had shaken me. I needed to talk, even if it was to an empty room. "Sarah, since you don't like kids, you could just give birth to the baby when you wake up, and I'll take care of it myself. The baby will still know you're its mother. We can be civil, even after the divorce. But I'm not going to be alone forever. It probably won't be long before your child is calling another woman mom." I said it just to provoke a reaction. I had no intention of remarrying. I might date, but I was done with marriage. "What do you think of Chloe? She's been into me for years. She saved my life. She'd probably make a great stepmom." Before I could finish the sentence, Sarah's fingers twitched. It was just a tiny movement. She didn't wake up. My heart sank with disappointment. "Sarah, I'm not joking. If you don't wake up, I'm serious." I didn't get to finish. Her eyelid fluttered. This time I was sure I wasn't imagining it. "Doctor!" I yelled, my heart pounding, and rushed to get Dr. Riley. Nina was one of Sarah's best friends and had been at the hospital since it happened. She and the main surgeon rushed in. After a quick examination, Nina turned to me, a look of surprised relief on her face. "She should wake up soon. Don't worry." I nodded. "Thank you." Nina started to leave, but then she turned back to me. "About everything before? I'm sorry, Daniel. She'd always call me Mr. Miller before. Her expression was full of remorse. I always thought you weren't good enough for Sarah, but that was never my business. If she loves you, I had no right to be so awful. It's in the past, I said, my face blank. Her apology didn't mean much to me. I never considered her a friend, just someone I knew. Seeing my lack of reaction, Nina didn't press the issue. She said a few more pleasantries and left. I sat by her bedside, waiting. Sometime after midnight, exhaustion finally claimed me, and I fell asleep in the chair, my head resting on the bed, still holding her hand. The hospital room was cold. I started to stir, thinking about finding a blanket, when I felt a warmth settle over my shoulders. I jolted awake and opened my eyes. Sarah was draping a blanket over me. "You're awake?" I was so relieved I could barely speak. I grabbed her hand, about to call for the doctor again. While we waited, she gently pulled me into a hug. "Don't let my baby call another woman Mom," she whispered, her voice raspy. Her voice was weak, but it was the first thing she said after waking up. I was a mix of annoyed and amused. I gently pushed her back against the pillows. "Let's have the doctor check you out first." Sarah was finally awake. The Vance family was overjoyed, and the Hayes family breathed a collective sigh of relief. If Sarah had died, they probably would have had to sacrifice Ethan to appease the Vances. That was an exaggeration, of course. But for a fallen dynasty like the Hayes family, with so many mouths to feed, cutting off their source of income with a fate worse than death, they would have done anything to appease the Vances and get back in their good graces. Even with Sarah awake, the relationship between the two families was shattered beyond repair. After everything that happened, things between Sarah and me became delicate. We used to fight all the time, but I'd never seriously considered leaving. It was her saying she never wanted children, that she'd get an abortion if she ever got pregnant, that had pushed me over the edge. After she recovered, she insisted we go to therapy together to try and get to the root of our problems. And when she finally understood why I had done it, the look of pure, gut-wrenching regret on her face is something I'll never forget. "Daniel," she said, her voice breaking, "I was just angry. I never meant it. How could I not want our child?" She held me tight, as if terrified. "You said that if I got pregnant, I would have to cut ties with Ethan. I just thought you were being jealous, that I could calm you down. I knew I was handling things badly, but I felt trapped, and I just wanted you to understand my position. I never stopped to think about how you were feeling. When you said that, I thought you were trying to use a baby as leverage, as a tool to control me. I was so angry I said that horrible thing, but I never ever meant it." I understood what she was saying. I'd said plenty of hurtful things in anger too. But that time, what she said had truly broken me. "Daniel, please give me a chance," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I can't lose you, and I can't lose this baby. Just watch me. See if I can change. If things are still the same a year from now, you can leave, and I won't say a word. I want to try again, Daniel. I love you so much. We were so in love once. I can't let it end like this. I'm not ready to give up." Was I ready to give up? No, but I was terrified to try again. Everything she said was true. There had been huge misunderstandings between us. But that didn't change the fact that the pain I'd felt was real. "I was hurt too, Daniel," she said, cupping my face in her hands. "We were like two porcupines, constantly hurting each other. But I'm willing to put my quills down." My mind was a mess. I didn't give her an answer. Sarah didn't push. She was caring and attentive, but she gave me space, never overstepping. She was still recovering, and I told her to focus on herself and the baby, not me. She'd agree, but somehow, she still knew every little detail of my day. I thought she was just obsessed with the idea of giving our child a perfect family. But I slowly realized that back then, I wasn't the only one who was insecure and keeping score. She was too. After we got married, my insecurity led me to do a lot of things that drove her crazy. I always thought our relationship started on a sordid note. I admitted to her one night that you only stayed with me because of what happened. I was terrified that you'd meet someone better and realize I was nothing special. Sarah, we were on such different levels. I couldn't handle it. So when I asked for a divorce, it wasn't just because of you. It was because of me, too. I didn't want to be that person anymore. When I brought it up, her face was filled with regret. "Daniel, I never wanted anyone else. I liked you for a long time before that night. I just never had the courage to say anything. You thought it was an accident, but think about it. Even drunk, I would never have let a man I didn't want near me." I was stunned. "What are you saying? You weren't drunk that night." I had felt guilty about it for years. She had seemed so out of it, while I was only tipsy, my mind perfectly clear. I had taken advantage of her, but hearing her say that, a huge weight lifted from my shoulders. Sarah, if you were sober, why didn't you ever tell me? I've spent all this time thinking I took advantage of you. She gave me an apologetic smile. Daniel, I was barely 20. I was scared of being rejected, so I took the coward's way out. I wouldn't do that now. I couldn't help but feel a flash of resentment. If you had just told me, I wouldn't have been so insecure. I wouldn't have done all those stupid things. She placed my hand over her heart. I know. I was stupid too. I liked you so much, but I acted like I didn't care because I loved watching you chase after me. I knew you hated Ethan, but I dismissed your feelings instead of dealing with the real problem with my grandfather. Daniel, I made so many mistakes. I misunderstood so much. If you hadn't lost your memory, I might never have realized how terrible I was being. We talked for a long time that night, laying everything from the past out in the open. At some point, I drifted off to sleep. She was over 6 months pregnant by then, her belly round and full. I carefully lifted her from the chair and carried her to the bed. She stirred as I laid her down, her arms instinctively wrapping around my neck. Thank you, she whispered. She looked up at me, her gaze intense, and then she tilted her head up and kissed me. I didn't say anything, just let myself feel it. After a long moment, she pulled away. My face was flushed. I heard her whisper in my ear, her voice husky, Daniel, please don't divorce me. I couldn't help but laugh. I thought, after a kiss like that, she'd ask for something a little more in the moment. But all she wanted was not to get divorced. Seeing me laugh, she looked a little annoyed, but she just playfully poked my side. Stop laughing and answer me. My laughter died down, and I let my expression go blank. She immediately started to panic. Okay, you don't have to answer. This is fine. This is good. I understood her panic. I sighed and gently stroked her cheek. Sarah, just give me some more time to think, okay? Even though we had cleared the air, learning to trust her again wasn't going to be easy, especially for a couple like us. We had put each other through hell. The wounds were deep. Rebuilding trust would take a long, long time. She focused on her pregnancy, and for the baby's sake, I softened toward her. The pregnancy was hard on her, though she was too proud to admit it. I felt for her. It was my child, after all. The baby arrived before we knew it. The days flew by. I had prepared myself for what was to come. If Sarah was a good mother, I would be happy. But if she wasn't, I was ready to walk away. As it turned out, Sarah never disappointed me. One evening, after she'd put the baby to sleep, she turned to leave the nursery and saw me leaning against the doorframe, smiling at her. She walked over to me. What is it? Nothing. I was just thinking I haven't seen your ice queen face in a long time. She let out a relieved, amused laugh and wrapped her arms around my waist. That's ancient history. Can we please not talk about it? Why not? I laughed, sidestepping her playful grab. But I have to admit, I kind of miss the old you. I bet you look really beautiful changing a diaper with that frosty expression. She knew I was teasing her. With a mock serious face, she chased me into the bedroom. As she tackled me onto the bed, I heard her ask, so, honey, have I passed my probation period? I laughed. You passed, but you're still on probation. How long is the probation? A lifetime,